Hello and welcome to the WDW News Today podcast. My name is Eric Morton. With me, as always, is Tom Corliss and our special guest today, Dr. Jason Diffendahl.
Hey, howdy, hey.
So, welcome. It's great to have everybody here. Obviously, I'm not there. I guess before we get started, you can see that I'm not in the studio, but I think let's play a little game, and I will move aside, and you can guess if I'm in a Disney hotel room or in like a random hotel somewhere else. You ready? Here, I'm going to move aside. What do you guys think?
The walls aren't all white, so it has to be somewhere else.
Yeah. That headboard's pretty fancy. Has to be somewhere else.
Well, as Mitch Hedberg said, I can't tell you the hotel I'm staying at, but it involves 2 trees. I'm at a random double tree in Lawrence, Kansas. Unfortunately, I had a family emergency this week, which made it so I was not able to be in the studio. We've got a little break in the action. Maybe some good news today. So here I am trying to moderate these 2 animals here back in the studio. It is 29 degrees and snowing here. There's Tom's white legs that he was so proud of on the last episode. So you can tell we're
Eric, it's
Orlando
bad. It's
weather.
29 and snowing here too. You can't see it, but it's real rough outside.
I'm sure it is.
A tornado just came by.
Jason looks more comfortable than you, though, Jason. Look at that shirt. Where'd you get that?
We already plugged it on the pre-recorded part.
This, Eric, I don't know if you recognize this. This is one of the new Park Candy shirts.
We have to edit this out now because we already plugged it in the other part.
That's all right. Anyway.
I didn't know.
Go to wwnt.link/parkcandy. Use code WDWNT for 15% off, and you can get yourself this galactic cantina with a droid that's absolutely not DJ Rex right on the front.
Inspired by.
It's
and
inspired
I don't
by
have
DJ
my
Rex.
Park Candy shirts because I am a man who lives alone, and it's somewhere at the bottom of my laundry pile, and I have yet to find them. So they need to be washed.
But look, I miss you guys. I wish I were still back home, but unfortunately, I'm here for a few days, and at least we get to talk about interesting stuff, right? There's no Reese's Peanut Butter Cup news that I'm aware of. There's not a whole lot going on.
Eric,
So
you left, and
we
they
can
came out with a souvenir Stein for Germany.
I know. I was at Epcot when I got the news and had to hop on a plane. And
I know. We didn't get it with our Dunkels on New Year's Eve. It wasn't there yet.
That's great. I can't wait to get one of those. I'm very excited. And the new Journey into Imagination, or the Imagination Pavilion popcorn bucket coming out. That's going to be amazing.
Yep.
I'm going to come home. We're going to be able to park hop early in the day. There's going to be all kinds of great stuff going on.
There'll be other weird things that we'll talk about come January 12th as well. A lot has changed in your absence.
What else am I missing?
Nothing. We'll talk about it later. We can't say it on air yet.
I think a lot of people have made comments when we address Universal in the past that Universal has somehow now surpassed Disney, that Disney's playing catch up, that Universal is building theme parks while Disney's struggling to build rides.
That's absolutely true, Eric.
And I think we're going to discuss that on this episode of the podcast. I think it's important to get that out in the open and have a real conversation instead of just, a random drive-by comment, But it's 29 degrees here and it's snowing. And I sure wish right now, if I still lived here, that I would consider moving to Orlando. So I know that we had our friend Eric Gross in the studio a few moments ago, and we're going to show that to you real quick. So here's Eric Gross and Tom and Jason from earlier in the day.
So welcome, everybody. I'm here today taking the place of Eric, but we also have another Eric to help us out today. This is Eric Gross of Magical Moves, and Eric is a realtor. And we've invited him here today to talk to him a little bit and let you get to know him, because we're going to be starting a new show with Eric and talking about real estate in the Central Florida area.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm the other Eric. Happy to be here.
The other Eric.
This isn't going to be confusing at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
So they both wear the same shirt. Well, now you're just wearing that for us.
I wore my best Hawaiian shirt today for you guys.
I'm doing WWNT. I got to wear a Hawaiian shirt.
It's not Park Candy, but do I have one ordered?
Speaking of
Maybe.
Park Candy, I've got my park candy on today.
I don't have mine because I live alone and am a man, and it's buried somewhere in the laundry, and I can't find them.
Well,
It's laundry day.
But go ahead, they have the link up. So talk about park
So this is Cocktails in a Galaxy Far, Far Away is the name of this shirt. Somewhat modeled after the Cantina. There's
inspired by
aliens.
ogres.
Inspired by ogres. There's some. Well, no, it's probably not. It's probably inspired by the Mos Eisley Cantina.
DJ Rex is on the front of your shirt.
DJ Rex.
Yeah, he's right under the mic. He's right there.
Oh yeah, there he is. DJ Rex. I didn't even
No,
know.
a droid inspired by DJ Rex.
Yes.
Is on your shirt.
This is
Yeah, exactly.
a DJ
It's under
Hex.
my eye.
But this is one of the Park Candy shirts that you can get. Go to wwnt.link/parkcandy. Use the code WDWNT to save 15% on your purchase and help us out in the process. So Eric, I think next time we'll expect you to come in a Park Candy shirt.
I got them ordered. I wasn't kidding. I'm ready.
Okay. Well,
And I
cool.
will find mine and wash them.
So let's talk about magical moves and what we're going to be doing starting in a couple of weeks with a new show that we're going to have right here on the WWNT YouTube channel.
Yeah, so I run a real estate team called Magical Moves, and we've been operating for about 5-6 years now, and we really specialize in helping people that love Disney and love the parks move to Orlando, because that's really a lot of people's goal, right?
Yeah.
That's what you did. That's what you
I
did.
didn't move here for anything else.
Right, right,
Yeah, I just moved here to be close to Tom.
right.
And that's why today we're announcing that I'm moving away to Japan. Never mind.
So yeah, and so I think there's definitely people out there that are always looking to move to Disney, right? And I did it last year, and so we're going to talk a lot about my experience moving to Orlando. We're going to talk about different areas around Disney World, where what's nice, what's not. Real estate process in Florida and how it may be different than other places and things like that. We can talk about traffic and where not to live because of traffic. That's a big deal.
Yeah, traffic is a big deal here.
So we're going to talk about all these kinds of things over the next several months of our show, and hopefully you guys will all tune in.
Even if you're not in the market for a house, I think we'll still have a good time.
Oh, we'll
Yeah.
still have a good time. And then also, at some point, because, Tom, your parents are in the market for
They
a house
absolutely
down
are,
here.
yeah. And the traffic, you brought up the traffic thing. I can't wait to talk about that because that's a whole,
Oh, it's a mess.
It's a beast.
yeah.
It's a mess. But, I mean, so your parents are going to, at some point, come down and start looking for houses, too. So
Yeah.
so then we're going to take our show on the road.
Yeah, I think we're going to put like a little GoPro right here on them and just, we're going to do like a live POV.
Well, we gotta hide it. I've said this before. My father is insane and hilarious, and people love him.
Yeah.
But the minute he knows someone's filming, the magic goes away. And so we're gonna have to like hide the GoPro on one of us. Yeah, it's
I'll
gonna
put
have
like a little one of those like flower like
There you go.
brooches right here with a little
right?
hidden,
It's like he
hidden
pulled it
camera in
over.
it.
What was that, Mr. Corliss?
We can have
I'm like just moving in closer.
we can have a couple people like hide in the house and sneak around the corner when he walks in the
Yeah.
door and
Like
stuff.
boom operators.
But yeah, so we're also going to do some like real life house hunting.
Yeah,
Try to find something that will satisfy Mr. Corliss,
yeah.
No.
which is not.
What
an easy
areas are
thing
you
to
looking
do.
at?
I mean, they've looked all over the place, but I think they want to be down somewhere near Celebrate. I don't think they want to be too far from me because I'm wonderful. And so they've looked a lot in, obviously, like Champions Gate area and what's a little north of there? I don't know what that's called.
Well,
like the-
Reunion,
like the Four
Davenport.
Corners.
Yeah, but
area.
still like a little north of that,
Oh.
but the other side of I-4 from where we are.
Like kind of like South Claremont.
Yeah.
like that
Sure,
Four Corners
yeah.
area. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where everything keeps bringing them. And then they always find either something with the house or they don't like the traffic in that particular spot or their proximity to a certain thing, which maybe is, like 192 or,
Yeah.
so well, obviously we'll talk about all that. But yeah, they've looked at, Jason said they're going to start looking. They've looked probably at a good 20 or 30 houses.
Oh yeah,
And
so
we're
they've got some
still-
good. They've got some good like kind of background knowledge on it.
Yeah, and so we've looked at like the oversized, what used to be, post COVID, everyone was trying to dump off those 10-bedroom vacation homes. How many beds? 6-bedroom vacation.
No, there's
homes.
some that have like 12, 13 I've
Yeah.
seen. Yeah, it's wild.
So we've looked at a lot of different things, all of which either they didn't like or did like and then missed out on. So
I always say when people are looking for homes, it's easier to like know what you don't want in a home than what you do.
Yeah.
You think you might know what you want, but it's really easy to point out what you don't want. You're like, I
Yeah.
don't like that.
Yeah.
And then it helps you kind of refine the search process a little bit more.
okay. Well, my parents are going to be the greatest challenge of your career, I assure you. So,
You know what? I am ready to take that
All
on.
right,
Let's go. Watch me like cut to like 4 months from now. I'm like
just like just
like
crying.
the Home Alone kid.
If we just stop doing the show one week and no one
Yeah.
knows why.
That's why.
We haven't seen Eric in a while. But
And so that's the plan coming up. And we're gonna do like every other week, 3 times a month, or something like that.
a couple times a month, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we kind of talked about.
So yeah, that should be fun.
Yeah.
And as usual, we're not organized here, so no one knows the day or anything right now. So
They will be released
we
as
do.
they are filmed.
Oh, okay. All right. So see,
No,
they
like
know
whenever
more
we
than I
get to
know.
it,
Okay.
we'll make it happen.
No, we don't talk about things before we turn these cameras on. We all just sit and
Well, we had a
go.
long talk about you moving to
Yeah.
maybe Tokyo, but you'll be back.
well,
We'll rent out your home. We'll get you a house here first.
oh no, I'll knock on wood for now. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. They'll be happy to be rid of me for a couple months. Yeah, but anyway,
We'll live stream you in.
yeah.
Just put his head on a robot.
Yeah.
The head on the robot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
would be the
We'll just
thing,
wheel you
yeah.
around.
Like the robot that brings toiletries to your room at Aventura.
Aventura.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And we can have little recorded clips of your voice. Get to work.
What are you?
Like
stupid?
pre-recorded. Yeah, you just press a
pre-recorded
button.
clips. Somebody like 10 feet away with a little remote will be hitting the
The
buttons.
title is horrible.
This is an original Epcot. This opened in 1983.
Yeah, exactly.
That's me.
Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely. So yeah, looking forward to this.
Yeah.
We will. We'll have some more announcements coming up when we finally get a schedule and get our first show in the can, and then we'll let people know.
But soon, right?
Yeah.
It should
Yeah.
be soon.
Yeah.
Very soon.
You were telling me off camera that you just moved to Hamlin about a year ago. Is that right?
Year and a half ago.
Yep.
Yep.
And how are you liking that? What are the pros and cons so far? Because I believe in like pure honesty.
The location's great.
Yep.
I think the location is phenomenal. Like we can see the Magic Kingdom fireworks from my
Yeah.
patio. We have a nice corner lot with a big yard because we have 2 dogs. It's really nice over there. Traffic is, well, we'll talk about traffic. Will probably take up like 3 episodes of this show,
Yeah.
I think, right? Because traffic is a disaster. A lot of different places for a lot
Yeah.
of different reasons. Even on Disney property, there's traffic
Yes.
issues
Yeah.
quite a bit.
My last 2 apartments I rented were the choices were based on can I avoid traffic going where I need to go.
Yeah.
That was the primary thing. The what the apartment looked like and everything else was secondary to can I avoid traffic going where I need to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, the crazy thing about Orlando is like you really have like 2 rush hours, right? You've got the downtown business rush hours,
Yeah.
and then you have like Disney rush hours when the park opens and when the park closes.
Yeah.
And so just sold my house this past summer in like South Claremont area, and the only way to get there was 192.
Yeah.
So I would look up park closing times to know when I needed to like head back home because
Yeah.
if I didn't get it in time,
Yeah.
You were on 192 for
I'd
an hour.
be sitting. Yeah, I'd just
Yep.
be sitting right there. So.
Yeah. And then that I-4 Davenport Champions Gate.
Oh, that's a mess too.
That was bad when I lived down there, and now it keeps getting worse
Yeah.
and worse and worse and worse.
Yep.
And then backing onto Disney property now, like those people are waiting through the gate now.
Yes.
like they're through the arch
Yesterday-
and onto property. Yeah,
Yesterday it was backed up through the arch. It's
crazy.
It was insane.
You guys are really selling the Orlando lifestyle here. I love it.
Oh, I'm not going to. If
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I'm going to undermine business for sure. Be like, well, yeah, if you really want to live near the parks, that's great. Here's the 400 other reasons not to live in Orlando.
Take your
Right.
Uber. Yeah.
But yeah.
Right? Yeah. No, but I love living over in the Hamlin area. It's really the perfect location for a lot of things.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're close to Disney. We're not far from Universal and SeaWorld, so I get to use my SeaWorld annual pass.
Twice a year.
They're giving us $20 to go visit Aquatica in January.
How do you mean they're giving you $20?
Like if we go to Aquatica,
Like someone's
in January,
standing there with a $20 bill at the entrance.
We go to Aquatica in January. You go up to one of their pass kiosks and you scan your pass, and it will spit out a $20 voucher.
What
that
is
you
it
could
good
use
for?
on food or
So a gift card,
merchandise.
like a SeaWorld gift
yeah.
card, essentially.
Yeah,
Wow.
Oh,
yeah. But that's
because
the
no
pass,
one goes in January. Yeah.
That's the pass holder perk for January. It's $20
I
to
need to
spend
go. I've
at
never
Aquatica.
been.
It's a hard sell in
I've
January.
never been to Aquatica either.
This might have to be a thing.
We could do it
We have to go to Aquatica.
in January. It has to be in January.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love that.
Road trip.
It's so far. I mean, with traffic, it could be.
Yeah.
I know, going back to the Hamlin area, I think that's the area I probably saw the most in.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I
mean,
with
there's a lot-
everyone, like especially Disney fans moving here, because that
Yeah.
area is just ripe for development.
It's
And-
being developed like rapidly.
There's a lot to do back there.
And
Like,
and a lot of the developments are new, right? So
Yeah.
that was one of the things that attracted us was the house was only 4 years old.
Right. You don't have
and-
to worry about maintenance as much.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was 4 years old, and it was the second house for an elderly couple, so it was like almost brand new.
That's cream of the crop right there.
yeah.
That's great.
absolutely, Absolutely.
Yeah, and you're
So-
what, like 10 minutes from the west entrance to Disney?
I can
think.
get to the Grand Floridian in 9 minutes from my house. So
That's the end of the show.
right?
That's perfect. Yeah, that's
Right?
great.
Yeah.
So if that's what you're looking for, tune in.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Eric, I'd like to thank you for stopping in today, and welcome to the WWNT family. And
Morning,
we'll,
we're dysfunctional.
Thank you.
Very.
I'll make sure I'll make sure I meditate. I appreciate
That's
it. Thank you guys.
and next time we'll expect you with a Park Candy shirt.
Yep.
But other than that, thanks for coming, and I'm really looking forward to this show. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be something different that we know there's demand out there for this kind of information, and it's something new for us at WWNT to try to fill that demand. So should be fun.
Yeah, it'll be cool. And if you are looking to move to the area and you want to reach out, you can email me at eric@magicalmoves.com.
.com.
Yep.
Okay. We'll get that on a little lower third for the
Okay.
show. So
Perfect.
It pops up. And a QR code, too.
Perfect.
Everything we do is QR
A
codes.
little
now.
animated me
Yeah.
too.
There we go.
Your face on a robot.
All right. Well, thanks again.
Thanks for having me, guys.
We'll see you shortly.
Okay, well,
he's
now
gone.
that that's all over, he's gone.
Where did he go?
He just disappeared.
You're back to the other Eric. Unfortunately,
different
you're
Eric.
stuck with me.
Well, we had to switch because
stuck
we're
with-
legally not allowed to have two Erics at once. So
That is true. That's somewhere in the laws, I think. YouTube bylaws.
Yes,
I think.
and we're and I'm legally obligated to wear this shirt 5 days a week.
they never stopped you
That
from
is
wearing
true.
other shirts 5 days a week. So
Yeah, Jason has upgraded. It used to always be the best was Jason got like at the outlets or something the Pumpkin King T-shirt
Pumpkin
from
King.
Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
he wore the Pumpkin King T-shirt and then he'd wear it again because he had two of them.
I
And
have
then
4 of them.
Last, and then last year at Halloween Horror Nights, the guy was the Pumpkin Lord, and Jason got a Pumpkin Lord T-shirt. And I'm
Yep.
like, these the Pumpkin King, the Pumpkin Lord, just pumpkin-related shirts for Jason year-round.
That's right.
Now, thank God, Park Candy has hooked you up. You're
yeah,
going to
you and Jason now have more than 6 shirts each.
I wish maybe Park Candy can come out with a Halloween pumpkin lord themed shirt, and then I'd wear that too.
One can always hope. I am wearing a Universal shirt under here. I have them my Poseidon's Fury.
Oh yeah,
T-shirt
You
on,
wore that
so
to
I am
Summer House on the
referencing-
Lake. It was very in theme. Poseidon also controls the lakes,
yes, he's the,
lake,
water.
the seas.
the Lord
He's
of
got
the
all the
sea,
water.
and the lakes, and all houses on them.
All seasons of houses: the summer house, the winter
You're
house.
under protection of the cookie bar. Now go.
As my brother's been dealing with stuff in the hospital Axel said he's my brother was born in Belgium, and Axel, our friend, is Belgian. He said he's now under the protection of Mannequin Piss, who is that is the name of a statue in Belgium that you've seen of a naked little boy going to the bathroom. That's like the most famous landmark in Belgium. So he's protecting my brother, just like Poseidon would be protecting us if we were in the seas.
Waffles,
so
chocolate,
looks over all Belgians.
kissing children.
Yep.
Sounds great.
Can't wait to visit.
Hey, man. That's just the world we live in.
Before we get into the Universal thing, funny enough, I saw the WIGS. We have some Universal stands in the WIGS because I think they're just grumpy local pass holders who feel slighted. But we have some people in the WIGS I saw that were very excited that Universal was the highest grossing movie studio last year. It's the first time Disney hasn't won. It's the first time Disney hasn't won in how many years? It's several years.
Several.
Yeah.
9 years or 7 years or something.
Yeah. So like people are really excited about that. I'm like, being I don't know if people are Universal fans, right? There are Universal Parks fans. Being a Universal movies fan is weird because, like, don't get me wrong, my favorite movies of all time are actually Universal movies, right? That's why I liked Universal so much as a kid. Back to the Future, Jaws. Like those those are my things. Yeah, E.T. not so much, but a lot of people E.T. Sure, yeah, one of the highest grossing movies of all time. And then they also had, it wasn't their movie, but Ghostbusters was in the park too.
Twister
and Hanna-Barbera, which was I watched on TV. I watched Hanna-Barbera cartoons every day.
Scooby-Doo.
But like people are ranting and raving like, I see what's happening, blah blah blah. Well, Universal makes a lot of different movies, right? Like Disney is fairly focused on blockbusters and family entertainment, as opposed to Universal, where isn't their highest grossing movie or one of the highest grossing movies? Oh, the highest grossing is Super Mario. But below that, isn't it Oppenheimer? Which you're not getting an Oppenheimer attraction. That's not
man.
Gonna see now. Actually,
that'd be great in the universe of energy.
In a different time.
Yeah.
At a different time. Twister, if we're in the 90s still, I could see Twister being updated to like an Oppenheimer special effects show where you're like there when the bomb explodes.
That would be great.
Because people back then would be like, it's not offensive. Now it'd be like, you can't.
That's very poor taste.
Yeah, and obviously it is. But I think that's there. So like there's a lot of Universal, like, yeah, Super Mario was great, but a majority of that list, I'm like, well, it's certainly not for quality.
No, it's quantity.
I think
Oppenheimer's
there
a
were
great
predictions.
movie too,
I think there were predictions that the only movie they expect to hit $1 billion at box office this coming year is Minions 4 or I don't know, one of those Minions type of movies. So these are that's a go-to, right? That's a golden goose. They're so a lot of these. They have a lot of these studio IPs that do a lot of revenue that don't necessarily connect with people, right? It's not like billions of people. It's not like there's message boards dedicated to dissecting the universe created for Fast and Furious, but people go to those movies.
Well, here's the thing, right?
Massive box office.
Your two mega franchises, right? You're like, well, you're gonna need to build some mega e-ticket attractions for these. And you look at Fast and Furious and Despicable Me, and they have probably some of the worst theme park attractions of all time, right? The additions to the studio tour in Hollywood for Fast and Furious were horrible. And they're even worse as a standalone ride in Florida, which I think Fast and Furious Supercharged has got to be in competition with Jimmy Fallon to be the worst theme park attraction from any major theme park ever built. It's got to be.
I think especially when you calculate, the time you spend waiting in line for that thing and you get there, and the first time I rode it, I was with you, Tom, and I was just laughing. It was.
You hit a brick wall and water comes out. The effect for hitting the brick wall is water.
It's almost like the attraction was supposed to be a farce, but it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a joke, right? And so my favorite thing was I remember the Horror Nights before that ride opened. I was sitting on the grass in the front waiting for Stay and Scream, and there's these two guests, and they're talking about what they think the Fast and Furious ride is. Oh yeah, it's going to be like Test Track, and that would be the assumption, right? The assumption would be it's got to be a fast car ride.
vehicle
It's a
that moves
movie
fast.
about fast cars.
Yeah.
And then people show up and it's like, get on the party bus.
It's a bus.
With and somehow the bus goes 150 miles an hour down the road.
At least it's a fast bus.
Yeah, party buses are known for their speed.
That's right.
Of course. Yeah, so like, look, what they're doing now, like Universal knows what they know what they can do, right? So the Hollywood ride they're building, they're like, well, what we do really well is work with coaster manufacturers. And then what we can do that Cedar Point and Dollywood and all those people can't do is spend a bunch of money on theming, right? So you look at Velocicoaster, you look at Hagrid's. They're great roller coasters. At a Cedar Point, they'd be a tremendous hit. But what puts them over the top here is that they put some very nice theming, right? Stuff you're not going to see. You know, at Cedar Point, you're lucky you have anything but a dirt patch underneath the roller coaster. And what Universal does, like, look, I'll make fun of Velocicoaster's theming because I think the raptor statues are silly. But, I mean, that enclosure is cool. And Hagrid's is probably a much better attraction than Velocicoaster overall. Yeah. Hagrid's is more Disney quality, I would say. Like, their animatronics are
The animatronics aren't, but
the
overall
that Hagrid figure is with the umbrella. Oh my God, I've had action figures with more articulation than the Hagrid animatronic. You know, and I want to make something clear up front because I know what the comments are going to be. People are going to go in and be like, well, "I like Universal. You guys are just Disney stands." So blah 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 blah. No, that's not what's happening here, right? This is a quality comparison to the industry, right? And I hold Disney to the same standard. When Disney doesn't deliver what they are capable of, it's disappointing. I think Universal has those problems and they have them on a larger scale, but I think people have lowered expectations at Universal, right? So I think if Disney built that Mario Kart ride, people would be ranting and raving about how it uses goggles and you can't see stuff and it doesn't work all the time and blah, blah, blah. And then Open Universal, people are like, this is so cool and it's amazing. I can't believe it. Because I think the expectations are different.
I mean, can you imagine if Disney built a Villain Con ride?
Oh, the moving walkway thing? They'd be laughed out of the room.
They would, absolutely.
Laughed out of the room. Like even Universal, the Universal bloggers and fans weren't, they kind of went into hiding after that thing went live, right?
I mean, I actually kind of like it, but
I would like it if it worked, right? But it is laggy, right? Like the screens just lag much.
It's laggy because there's too many people at once.
Yeah.
If you ride that ride like late at night and you're one of like 5 people in the attraction, it works great. Yeah. And it's a lot of fun.
Once
and you
enough
can see where
guns
you're
are on
shooting.
it.
But you put too many people through it and it doesn't work.
Do you know what happened with I don't know if we've ever told this story. I can tell this story now, I think. So remember the Minion Land opened before the ride did?
Yeah.
And everyone's like, well, what's going on with the ride? It's just a moving walkway. Why isn't it open? One of the guns caught on fire when they were testing. So the gun overheated and started smoking and caught on fire. So what they did for the rest of the test period was they put big barrels of sand along the ride path. And if the gun started to smoke, you had to throw your gun in the sand. That's when they were testing with Cast and Creative.
I mean, they could have just opened with that barrel of sand there. It would have been fine. You know, warning. If your gun is smoking, please deposit it in the sand.
If your gun should start to be on fire, please just plunge it into the sand. Have a fun ride.
It's Universal. If the gun stops working, just use your own.
I mean, there's plenty of Universal rides with fire effects. People would have just assumed it's intentional, right?
This is a great effect. My hand's burning and everything. It's amazing.
Before we move on, though, from the point about studio IP, their top studio IP at Universal is a Warner Brothers, Harry Potter, which is not a Universal film series. So, I'm sure Disney would like to have done it. Look, Disney did that. They kind of ended up owning Avatar eventually through the Fox acquisition, but they kind of went that direction too of licensing IP that people liked from popular film franchises. And the Harry Potter stuff is the best part of Universal, other than things like Horror Nights. And it is it's licensed. It's a licensed property.
Eric, I would argue that the attraction that inspired your shirt is one of the best things at Universal.
Well, it's been closed. It has been closed for many months now.
I know, and I'm still very sad about it.
Poseidon was there was some Islands of Adventure when that opened. The original storytelling aspect was cool. A lot of the attractions weren't great. Like Poseidon was different and interesting, right?
Yeah.
Like I like Poseidon. Triceratops encounter was the best thing in that park. Like that was something Disney hadn't even done. Like that was really the first living character animatronic thing, right? They kind of beat them to it.
Sure.
And it was you go to this, veterinary facility and they're caring for the Triceratops and the lady's like feeding it and all this stuff. And it looked real and convincing. And I just remember thinking like, this is what I wanted from Jurassic Park. And then we rode River Adventure and I hated Universal from that point on because my favorite movie
they destroyed
was,
the attraction.
You got to remember, that was a year after Dinosaur opened, Countdown to Extinction.
Yep.
And Countdown to Extinction was the better dinosaur ride.
By far.
The dinosaurs chased after you. They looked real. Their skin wasn't a curtain. The best is the first one, right? The first animatronic in that ride, is it Brachiosaur, whatever it is? When it just, the head is like already crooked. It starts like this and it comes like, it's like, oh, it's a real dinosaur. Yeah, okay. Yeah, no child thinks that flappy-skinned, broken-necked dinosaur is real. Like the illusion is broken the second that gate opens.
Right.
On that ride. And they did a better job, right? I haven't been there in person yet, but the Beijing Jurassic World ride everyone raves about, and you've seen videos online. Like it looks like they eventually figured out and built, a Jurassic ride that probably is even better than Countdown to Extinction.
It only took them 30 years.
Yeah. And honestly, like I rode Jurassic World in Hollywood, way better version of that attraction.
Yeah.
Incredibly, much, much better. One of the few upgrades or updates Universal's ever done that I think they really nailed it.
A few of the criticisms that you hear directed at Disney, and look, we make fun of them. Tron took like a better part of 5 years to build. All these things but look, Universal's building a whole new theme park. They did a roller coaster. They're doing all this stuff so much faster, with some caveats. One of which is they're buying up basically off the shelf roller coasters and theming them. They were building gravity buildings for these roller coasters.
They're not off the shelf. I mean, that's not fair to say they're off the shelf. They're not. Those are custom designs. But yeah, I mean, if you're building Hagrid's and Velocicoaster, there was only, especially in the case of Velocicoaster, that went up so quick because you built a queue building and then some rock work, and there wasn't a whole lot. Like Tron certainly could have been built faster. That was a strategic decision to push things off until after the 50th, right?
And more doesn't necessarily mean better. I mean, Velocicoaster is a great ride, but SeaWorld is about to open its third ride since 2021.
Yeah,
its third roller coaster.
Well,
so
Mako and the surfing and
well, they had I don't remember.
No, Mako and then
Icebreaker,
and
Pipeline, and a new Penguin one.
Oh, and they got another. The Penguin. So
and the Penguin one's coming next.
So it's 4
this year.
Yeah.
It'll be 4 in 4 years.
That's good for them,
or something like that, right? I don't think that's correct. I think it was
Mako might have been 19. But still, not a long.
No, Mako was 16.
But,
oh my God, is that long ago?
Yeah, Mako was 16.
COVID effect. I don't even know what year it is.
Yeah. So Icebreaker 2022, Pipeline 2023, Penguin Trek 2024.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone's going to argue that this makes SeaWorld better than Universal or Disney.
No.
It's a different.
Yeah.
It's a different experience. I'm glad that SeaWorld exists. We went there the other day and I had a great time. I'm glad that Universal exists. I go there often and I have a great time. I'm glad that Disney exists.
Yeah.
But the idea that
I'm also glad that
Universal
Fun Spot exists.
Yeah.
I don't go there.
Universal has supplanted Disney as the flag bearer for themed entertainment in Florida, I think is a little silly.
Here's the thing. When you say, Universal is overtaking Disney, there are things that Universal does better than Disney. I don't think that's an argument that even the most ardent Disney stan could argue about. There are a number of things that Universal does better than Disney. They do construction faster. They do stunt shows better.
I mean, sometimes the stuff is less complicated.
Well, sure it is.
Right?
They do. What's the best stunt show in Orlando? It's Bourne. I think the Bourne Stunt Show is the best stunt show I've seen.
I don't know about that.
It's very interesting. I like the Bourne thing.
I think
technologically impressive.
Yeah, I think it's a great stunt show.
It's impressive.
I
It's
would
very
say
good.
I would say the Bourne Stunt Show is better than any Disney stunt show. I mean,
Better still.
it's obviously it's competing against one that's 35 years old, but still, Universal did a really good job with Bourne.
It's neat. Yeah.
They do a really good job with Halloween. They do a really good job with. Let me see. Now, all right. Here's something that Disney does, or Universal does a really good job with, that Disney refuses to do, and that is refillable mugs in the parks. Like that's.
I like how you immediately. Like, you dropped off the deep end. It was like all these big, important things, and then it became refillable park soda cups.
I mean, there's a limit, but there are things that Universal does better.
Sure.
There's no question about it. Any of the Harry Potter attractions, Disney doesn't have a Kuka Arm attraction.
Yeah.
And it's been how many years since Forbidden Journey
They're not
opened?
allowed to.
I know, but they don't even have anything similar. Like
don't
they
know that
haven't
a lot of
developed
people
their
are-
own technology with the same effect. So, and
I
that's
don't
been
know that a Kuka arm is an indicator of superiority. I mean, I've ridden it. It was a great ride. And then I was like, you know what? I'm probably not going to ride that again. It's a little, as I'm getting
The
older, it's
single
a
most
little
nauseating attraction.
I love it.
Yeah,
It's one of the
nauseating.
most nauseating attractions that I don't get sick on.
Yeah, you get sick on Cosmic Rewind, but,
Yeah,
but Forbidden Journey, you're
Forbidden
fine.
Journey, I'm fine. It's so weird. So like you've got that. I think there's a number of differences. I think Universal does a good job on some things. I think they do a terrible job on other things. I will readily admit that too many Universal attractions are screen-based.
Yeah.
That's actually a lot of the reason why they get constructed so quickly, because there aren't physical aspects to the ride.
Yeah.
It's a ride vehicle and some projection screens, and that's it. That's easy and
When you
quick to
build
build.
that Spider-Man ride system
you can-
for the 45th time, it turns out it gets easier.
You can make
I
that
mean-
criticism, though. Like, I've heard people say, oh, well, Cosmic Rewind's this rotating coaster, but so is Gringotts.
If someone likes
on the surface, they're both like tubular steel, and the ride vehicle rotates, and they're based on and they have a lot of.
That would
projections, but I
require
don't think-
Gringotts to have an actual roller coaster portion, as opposed to the one turn in the dark it makes after a dragon's ass opens into a chasm for some reason, and you're pulled through it.
I mean,
which let's remember early on that didn't move. The original problems with the ride, one of the trains literally flew into the screen because it didn't move. Like, it just went full speed, that launch through that Kuka arm. They have a piece of screen on a Kuka arm that does this. It's the most overbuilt thing I've ever seen. This Kuka arm screen bit that then does this and gets out of the way. And one time it didn't, and the train just went through it.
It's also worth saying that Universal has a lot more rides that everyone can't ride. There are a lot of these.
Absolutely.
Gringotts is one of them.
Not accommodating.
Gringotts. My friend couldn't ride Gringotts because, I mean, he's not like skinny, but he's not like a huge guy, but he's like 6'4", 6'5", and he was like kind of too big all over.
Forbidden Journey is the same way.
Forbidden Journey.
Velocicoaster's the same way. I think. I mean, the other thing is that there are a lot of Universal rides that, notwithstanding, can't fit people, but people don't want or like. Like, I can't ride Transformers because it makes me sick. There are more rides at Universal that make me sick than at Disney. Now,
Jimmy Fallon makes me sick, but it's
that's
not really
a different kind of
sickness.
But actually, Gringotts doesn't make me sick. I can do Gringotts.
When I was 14, Universal would have been a better park for me, right? There's all these thrilling.
Sure.
Not a ton of thrilling things, but there's more thrills, right? When you look at Hulk.
But that's what Disney. That's what Universal. That's their target market.
Yeah.
Right? It's not that it's a better or worse park. It's better or worse for certain people because either they're in the demographic or they're not.
Childless millennials, tweens and teens. Yeah, that's their clientele. I would dare say a bunch of the people in I think several of our WIGS members who are Universal stands kind of fit that category.
Probably.
And so I get it. Disney it has, as a pass holder, for a couple of years, Disney was kind of a pain, right? The park reservations and all these other things made you feel, like they didn't care, right? And Universal did a bunch of things that maybe made you think they did care.
Like free magnets.
Absolutely.
Like magnet giveaways and perks.
Buttons.
Discounts. And
they have secret restaurants.
No reservations. And
no reservations.
Yeah. So I think
lounges.
people got angry and then immediately started, Universal's better. Is it better to get, like let's look at it this way. Either... Is it better to be allowed entry to the town dump because you
don't need a reservation
because you can't get into like the zoo? I don't know, what? Huh?
I don't think it's fair to compare Universal to the town dump. I think it has a lot of merit.
I think it is, but that's
on Universal's side.
I mean, I think it's Universal knew what they were doing. Universal knew exactly why people were pissed at Disney, and they did exactly what they needed to do to get people to like them.
And ignored COVID and let 50,000 people into
That's
the park.
right, but it was fine.
And I know we said that on a previous show, and people were pretty nasty in the comments. I'm sorry if you don't believe COVID is real, but it is, and people died from it. That's factual. And it was not probably in humankind's best interest at the height of it, that early on when we didn't know much, to very simply open the floodgates and let a record number of people into your park. Universal won't tell you this because it's embarrassing, I think. They've tried to hide it. They had record attendance through COVID.
They did.
They had record attendance.
And
so your Thea numbers don't represent that because that's all made up, by the way. None of those are real. None of those projected attendance numbers you read from Thea are real. So the fact that we post them every year because there's a newsworthy reason to. Everyone else is posting them. And we always say, look, the theme parks do not release these numbers. They have not said this. These are projections, and it's unknown as to how factual they are. But I know from people in both companies, I've talked to people who would know what the attendance numbers are. And on both sides of the fence, Disney and Universal, I've been told they kind of look at those numbers and laugh every year. But Universal had record attendance because they opened the floodgates. Yeah. People didn't want to deal with the reservation system. And that was not the responsible thing to do. They made a bunch of money and they won people over. But I can't prove that anyone died because they got COVID at Universal, but you can't prove it didn't happen either.
Yeah.
I don't think that is really part of what makes people think Universal is better or worse.
I absolutely think that won people over, and they just decided. They decided, regardless of actual quality of content, they were blinded by the fact that they didn't have to jump through hoops. Which I get it; it makes sense.
I mean, look at SeaWorld. I have the Platinum SeaWorld annual pass. Right? It cost me $12. I don't know. I don't remember. It's
so fancy
and something or whatever. But SeaWorld is giving me $20. They're essentially giving me a $20 gift card to go visit Aquatica during the month of January. Because they know no one goes to Aquatica, and I've got a pass so I can go for free.
Yeah.
And they're giving me $20 to go because I'll spend it on food or drink that's very, low cost to them.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll like Aquatica. I've never been to Aquatica, even though I've had a SeaWorld annual pass for a year and a half now. So I'm kind of looking forward to go. This is going to get me to go to Aquatica. And that's the same exact kind of thing Universal did. Yeah. They said, what can we do that looks like...
We want your business.
What can we do that looks like it's a great benefit to pass holders? It doesn't really cost us much money, but it will get a lot of goodwill from the pass holders. And the pass holder lounge, opening Confisco Grill as a pass holder only dining spot is great. People can go there. They say, I went to this secret dining spot. It's just another food and beverage location. It doesn't really cost them any more to operate. They've got to staff it, but then that's less staff they need at other food and beverage locations. So that's the kind of thing that Universal did to generate a lot of goodwill and it took people away from Disney, and it generated a lot of positive social interactions on social media and things because people are posting like, oh, check me out. I'm in the secret restaurant at Universal that's pass holders only.
And definitely was a secret because every time I went there, Annie and I were the only people in it.
Right?
So,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the food wasn't that good, so.
it was fine.
I think another myth worth talking. Oh, go ahead.
I think in terms of marketing, SeaWorld and Universal do a lot better job at Disney. Disney takes their pass holders for granted. I think we can all see that that's been the case for like the past 4 years. Finally, things are turning around a bit. But Universal and SeaWorld knew exactly what they were doing, trying to win over pass holders and generate goodwill by being better to their pass holders than Disney did.
They will all eventually do the same thing to you, though. When the chips are down, everybody wants pass holders. And when they're not, no one cares, right? The Universal is already starting to put the knife in the back and turn it, right? They're like, well, you get your free ticket for Horror Nights. You have to make a reservation.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's starting. You're starting to see it. And it's all great. Like you won people over and they're there now. And look, pass holder benefits at Disney World, there used to be a ton. There were great stuff. There were lounges.
There were
used to go to the lounge at the Land upstairs.
Yep, that was fantastic.
There was all kinds of stuff like that when the chips were down after 9/11. They did a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
But then they didn't need to, right? And the other side of it is like that is the like benefits and perks and things. The other thing you have to realize is that is mostly an American thing, right? So Tokyo Disney. That annual pass had no benefits.
No discounts,
The
no
only
nothing.
benefit was you could park hop, which other people couldn't on their day tickets until like day 3.
Right.
That was it. Otherwise, it was, you know what, you are buying access to our park 365 days a year.
And that's it.
That's what an annual pass is. Would you like to have access 365 days a year? This is the price. And then you decide, is that what you want or is that not what you want? Not like, wow, this I get early entry and this and that. And look, and there's Disney parks where they look. Paris is a great example. Paris for years had, I had the Infinity Pass, which had a laundry list of insane benefits that I don't even know how anyone thought of. There were benefits to like store your bags at the storage place, for free wheelchairs, like all sorts of weird things you would never think are pass holder benefits were on that Infinity Pass. And then once money was good, they came back and revamped the whole system and took all of that away, the separate entrances, all that went away. And Universal will do the same to you when they get what they want. These are mega corporations. It is inevitable, right? Like SeaWorld's still in trouble, right? So it's unlikely if and when they will ever not.
SeaWorld just opened a VIP entrance only for the platinum, the highest level pass holders, where you don't even have to go near the turnstiles.
Yeah.
It's like a separate door with a hallway, and you just walk right up. There's no lines. There's no nothing. There's a person that will scan your ticket, and you're on your way. It's phenomenal. And they just did it. They just opened this a couple of weeks ago.
Let's not forget that Disney World, it's not that we don't get anything. We have separate entrances.
They're just useless.
Not all the time. You know what? More so recent, especially holiday weeks. Right?
Yeah.
The Christmas season, there's no one. And people are backed up 12 deep and just went through. And it's like, that's a great benefit.
Yeah, because they're all blocked out.
They staff them and they're always there, right?
Yeah.
They're not always a benefit, but nonetheless, Disney has kept them. They haven't closed them. They leave them there for you to use most of the day, even when time. It's kind of not busy.
Yeah.
Right? It's not that they do nothing for pass holders. We've lost stuff, but...
Well, but look at that annual pass holder entrance cost them $0.
Yeah.
It cost them nothing.
Technically cost them the 2 people standing there.
No, because they would just be different...
They would be, but there's times where it's busy on the other side and they're just standing.
Yeah.
And no one's actually using it. So Disney is staffing it just in case you come, right?
Yeah, I guess...
They've been doing the magnets, right? You went on about Universal's
magnets. They have been
magnets.
doing their magnets.
They've had plenty of magnets, right?
Yeah.
And people, they couldn't figure out the mailing thing, which, let's be honest, Universal never mailed them either. You have to go in person, so they started doing it in person, and it's worked out really well since they started doing it. There are pass holder drinks. There's been pass holder merchandise. There's been stuff. It's not that they're not trying, right? And then we're about to have a whole revamp of that reservation system. and the park hopping system.
Right.
And the good to go days, which I think will benefit
pass holders.
Pass holders, right?
Absolutely will.
Would I like the reservation system to be gone and to be able to buy a pass that I can just go whenever I want? I would love that. Don't get me wrong. We're not all the way there, but they're certainly not giving up on pass holders nor ignoring that we exist.
Well, I don't think they can because there's definitely some competition.
I don't even know that that's it. I don't think they want a certain type of guest, right? The thing they've gone on and on about is what was the terminology they used at the shareholder call? Not preferred guest, but I don't know what it is. But like guests with higher per guest spending, and
right? They want the guests that spend money.
Yeah,
and that's fine. And that's why when Disney brought back annual passes, you could only buy the most expensive one.
Yeah.
Right? Like you couldn't buy the cheaper ones because they wanted the guests with the money. Yeah. So does everybody else. Yeah. You know, I mean, what I would like to see is if Disney started giving different levels of perks to the different levels of passes. Like Universal gives a much bigger discount on merchandise to the top level pass holders, and so does SeaWorld. SeaWorld's giving me $20 to go visit Aquatica with a platinum pass. Yeah. If you have one of the lower passes, they're only giving you $10.
I mean, Hong Kong is great. I love my Hong Kong annual pass because 3 visits you get a pin, 10 visits you get like a big medal.
Right?
There's all these discounts.
I mean, remember when Epcot during one of the festivals, if you visited 4 times, you got a coaster set, and then another year you got a set of glasses?
Yeah.
Right? Like that was all really cool stuff. They could do that and just restrict it to the highest level of passes.
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, SeaWorld and Universal are both doing it. For whatever reason, Disney can't figure out how to freaking swipe your pass to give you a discount. If they could differentiate between passes and give you a higher discount.
Yeah, and the like have to show it on the phone thing is stupid.
Is absurd.
Yeah.
It's absolutely absurd.
It's dumb.
But Disney could absolutely differentiate the passes, and that would make the more expensive pass a better value to those people. And you know, I hope that comes. It makes perfect sense to me from a marketing perspective. You know, they could make the pass holder. I mean, like you said at Christmas, the pass holder line was empty at Christmas. Yeah. That's not because pass holders didn't go. It's because all the pass holders were blocked out.
Lower level,
right? So that was essentially a park only for the highest level pass holders because all the others were blocked out.
It's nice too. Depends.
But I'm saying like that is the kind of thing they could. You had a better experience with the pass holder line because all the lower level passes were blocked out. I think they could do a lot to stratify the pass holders and make people want to spend the additional money to get a higher level pass.
Yeah. I would, if they tomorrow told me there was a pass with better benefits and no reservations, if it was whatever amount of money it was, I would go, you know, sell lemonade outside at a stand if I had to buy it.
Yeah.
Because I'd be like, I don't want to deal with any of those things. That sounds great. Please, thank you.
I used to say, before COVID, if Disney World doubled the price of their annual pass and had half as many pass holders and that led to the parks being less crowded, I would happily pay twice as much for my pass if I didn't have to deal with the crowds.
The thing is, once you get those people in there, you never know what they're going to spend, right? So I think they like the idea of, you know, if these people come like 50 to 100 days a year, man, they got to eat and they got to buy stuff.
Right.
And they don't know, right? They don't know that if they get rid of half those people, like maybe those people, they bought a cheap annual pass, but maybe they go eat at the restaurants every time they're in the park, and maybe they buy merchandise. Maybe in the end, those lower tier pass holder people or people that wouldn't buy a more expensive ticket, maybe in the end they end up spending on other stuff.
That would be great to know, but Disney can't figure it out because they're not scanning your pass.
They're worried about giving me a Magic Band Plus, but the answer's been in front of them all along.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. They try to track you around the park, but it's super easy to scan your pass and figure out exactly what you're spending and exactly where you're spending it. They can't figure out how to do it.
I feel like we're having a pass holder conversation, and not a Disney versus Universal necessarily.
Well, it's a Disney versus Universal pass holder conversation.
Eric's still there. Still Eric. I don't know where Eric is.
Oh, where'd he go?
I don't know, he's gone. I'll keep going in the meantime. I have several things from the WIGS. For those of you who don't know, if you sign up at patreon.com/WDWNT for WIGS, you get to watch this live, and we actually have a chat with the WIGS open right now, which is what I'm going to... so usually most Fridays we record and people tune in live. Blood Sparrow said Universal's been doing things because Disney didn't since forever. I don't know exactly what that means, but I don't... Look, like the Disney downturn during the Chapek years, it was a thing, right? But that wasn't that long ago, right? Like the remnants of the era before Chapek were still bleeding into his time, right? So Pandora.
Yeah.
Pandora, the World of Avatar. Undoubtedly a smash hit. A mega e-ticket attraction people love. One of the most loved counter service restaurants in Disney World, if not the most.
Right.
Right? A land that absolutely made people want to go to Animal Kingdom and spend a lot of time there.
Yep. Merchandise.
And is flawless, right? The sight lines in that land, everything about it. It's beautiful. It's perfection. And Universal can't do that, right? I dare you to go to the 2 Super Nintendo worlds and talk to me about sightlines. They're awful.
I mean, hell, go to Volcano Bay.
They built that's true too. They built an entire perimeter, right? These high walls. And I'm standing there going, you took the time to build these fake flat hills. And instead of raising them a couple more feet, you just gave up, and so I can look at a parking structure and the top of like every other attraction in the park. You went through all the effort of erecting the wall.
Right. Why
and
didn't
you
you
just
make it
stopped.
do the function?
It's illogical because no one cared, right? Because the level of care is not the same, right? And
that's the key.
Look, there are things in the Disney, the Chapek years, there are certainly things Disney did where they disregarded sightlines, right? Toy Story Land is a tremendous example of that. But Universal does that consistently. I don't know of anything other than Diagon, because the first Potterland, they didn't really do it either. And they didn't keep to it for damn sure, because the Velocicoaster basically, you could grab a butterbeer if you stick your arm out far enough from Velocicoaster. They did it with the happy accident of the need for the design of you go through the wall. But yeah, in the case of Diagon Alley, they nailed it.
Yes.
Diagon's perfect. Diagon is Disney level. Like placemaking wise, Diagon is probably my favorite part of that park. It's phenomenal. I don't like Gringotts, but the land itself is up there with anything.
Absolutely.
It's tremendous.
I am back. I don't know if you can hear me.
We can hear you now.
I had a power outage in the hotel.
Oh.
During
no, maybe you are at a Disney hotel.
Diagon, you talk about Diagon, how really kind of note perfect it is. Even Gringotts, I don't love the ride. The ride is kind of what it is.
The queue is amazing. The ride building.
Yeah. The queue, the pre-show, all of that setup to Diagon to Gringotts is impeccable.
Yeah.
The fact that the dragon still breathes fire after this many years, I'm super surprised.
But let's look at the dragon for a second, right? If Disney put a static statue of what is supposed to be a living character on the exterior of a building in 2014, they would have been eaten alive for it. But Universal people are like, oh, it's so cool. There's a flamethrower in a statue. Like, yeah, it's cool, but shouldn't it move? Like, the dragon's supposed to be alive. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense.
Is it? I don't know. I don't know my Harry Potter movies.
The dragon's definitely supposed to be alive. He's not part of the architecture. No. It's the moment in the story where the dragon emerges from the roof of Gringotts and escapes, which you then experience on the ride, but somehow it's already happened. It already happened before you're in the ride.
Well, and so as you said, there are lower expectations when it comes to Universal. And so the fact that Universal has a dragon and it still breathes fire after almost a decade is pretty amazing to me. If it was at Disney, it would have to do all that and move.
Yeah.
Right? But that's just the difference in expectations based on what the companies have done over the past 40 years.
Yeah. Like, say what you will, like, the Phantasmic Dragon had a ton of problems. But when that worked, that was like a life-altering wow moment.
Absolutely.
A giant animatronic, like the Maleficent Dragon character leapt out of the movie and into real life and was really fighting with Mickey Mouse. That was look, it had problems for sure. You know, things happen, right? In Walt's time, they had plenty of things that were ambitious for the time, flying saucers, right? Things that were ambitious for their time, but they tried, and sometimes it worked,
and it worked, and people were impressed by it, and you know, it's not something they could maintain, which is pretty much a lot of the Dragon issue.
The company, you ordered from a company you weren't really ordering a lot of stuff from, and it turned out it was a piece of junk, and you tried your best.
Yeah, but you're right. Like there's always been problems. Like the Dragon's the most recent rocket rods, right?
The Yeti,
But they tried, and it worked to some extent, and it wowed people.
For a long time, yeah.
And that's why when they brought back flying tires, that really wowed people. It didn't last long because it had issues, but it kind of wowed people that they could actually bring it back, and it worked. And I think Disney does that more than Universal does.
Yeah.
Disney puts their neck out there with some cutting-edge technology way more often than Universal does.
Oh yeah, that's what I said. One of the things I think I said on News Today was when the roaming droids, the little roaming droids came out in Galaxy's Edge, and people in the comments like, Universal's catching up. When have you seen anything from Universal that is like little autonomous robots running around, right? When will you ever see anything from Universal that is look at that Spider-Man Stuntronic. Yeah. That is a robot that throws itself into the air, hits a target with 99.9% accuracy most days. You know, things happen. The precision and the magnitude of that invention, right? That Universal Creative, I don't think will ever have the R&D people that even if WDI is on its last legs, that R&D team is always doing things that probably most people would think is impossible.
I mean, they're doing things now that you're not going to see in the parks for 10 years.
Yeah. And that's how you stay ahead, right? That's how you –
Yes.
And look, they definitely took the focus – some of that focus off during the Chapek years, right? And by not having the roaming aliens and the roaming droids in Galaxy's Edge, they gave the world an inferior product. And the world knew that, and I think Galaxy's Edge is still kind of licking its wounds from that.
The world pretty much held them accountable.
Yeah. But Universal, like, I've entered the Wizarding World, but, like, there's not – there's some goblins in the queue, which are the worst animatronics you've ever seen.
Oh, I like them. They look kind of real.
I mean, that's what a goblin looks like, isn't it?
Yeah, they're bankers. Bankers don't do a lot of exciting stuff.
All bankers turn their heads like this, and then look off the page while they write.
I mean, animatronics are absolutely one thing that Disney has an enormous advantage over Universal, and I think probably always will.
To Universal's credit, I think they realized that in the last couple of outings, right? The Indominus figures on Jurassic World are fantastic. They're very, very good. And the big outdoor, when they work, the outdoor stuff in Super Nintendo World, that big sleeping piranha plant is cool. It's neat. That stuff breaks a lot, and their maintenance isn't great, and so it kind of sits there for a while. Yeah. But to Universal's credit, I think they heard what people were saying and have tried in some cases, right? I still think, look, and we could argue, is Universal Creative to blame or is Nintendo to blame for what happened with Mario Kart, right? Whether or not the AR is good or not, was the ride everything it should? Again, another attraction where people had expectations. People had expectations that they were going to get on a fast Mario Kart racing ride.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's a dark ride where you wear AR goggles and push buttons. That's what it is, right? And don't get me wrong, the queue, that is one of the best queues ever built. It is a gorgeous land at times when you look in the right directions. Nintendo has its moments, but then it does what I think most Universal projects for me have done, is where the attraction is the thing that falls short of the finish line. Right? They built this restaurant that has great food, and they built this incredible land where you go around and you hit things, and things are actually responding, right? It's undoubtedly cool when you hit a block and a Koopa, gets hit and the shell flies up, and like that stuff is cool. It's great. If that's what more of the attractions were, that'd be great. But the Yoshi ride is a kind of a piece of junk. It's kind of useless. And Mario Kart's not the most impressive thing anyone's done. And it kind of, I think, in representing Mario Kart, it's kind of a lame. It's kind of a lame representation.
Yeah. Well, I think that's very true. And that reminds me of Galaxy's Edge, where there were all these promises and none of them actually came true. And now Galaxy's Edge is kind of a lame land.
Yeah, other than Rise, right? Yeah.
But what Disney did do with that same IP was they built Star Cruiser. Star Cruiser contained a ton of elements that were originally supposed to go into Galaxy's Edge, right? Roaming droids, some kind of like personal, whatever they called it, the like reward system.
Oh, the reputation
system, yeah. Like
all that stuff we were supposed to have,
all that stuff.
And it turns out when it's all working together, it's glorious. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it worked in Star Cruiser and it was fantastic. They couldn't figure out how to do it on a big enough scale to make it work in Galaxy's Edge, or in the case of animatronics, they just chose not to. But, like that's what made Star Cruiser glorious, and I think everybody who went on Star Cruiser loved it. It's just that the price that Disney had to pay to do that was more than most people were willing to bear. Yeah. But those things are doable. And I mean, if Universal to try to come up with some equivalent to that, I don't think they're ever going to make it.
Yeah.
I want to talk about a couple things that you see a lot. And one of these is this sort of notion that Universal's this underdog company fighting against a behemoth and lapping them at every turn. I think, first of all, it's worth pointing out Universal is a bigger company. Comcast is bigger than Disney. Their market cap is similar but larger.
They almost bought Disney.
Yeah, they probably could have under the right circumstances. I think that their market cap is in the same ballpark as Disney's, but markedly higher. I think they have.
It's way higher now because Disney's is in the dumpster, but.
But I think they have a business model that's a little bit more spread out and less subject to risk. It's a little bit more diversified than Disney's offerings. At the same time, Disney, when it comes to themed entertainment, is the flag bearer. When it comes to tourism in Central Florida, Disney is the flag bearer. When it comes to the global perception of theme parks, Disney is the one that people think of. So for Universal to be willing to spend the kind of resources they're spending to build something like Epic Universe, which is a unique undertaking for so many reasons, is pretty gutsy. And I think it's going to benefit everyone in Central Florida, so we should be happy that it's going to exist.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's a real risk.
I think it's a calculated risk, obviously. It's Universal Comcast had to make a decision. Do we want to be in this space, or do we just want to let things kind of wither and die? Yeah. And they made the decision, we want to be in this space. We're a reasonable competitor.
They've gotten insanely bullish, right? To the point at which they want to build a park in Europe, and they want to build this kid-only boutique park in Texas.
Yeah,
and this Horror Nights thing in Vegas.
Yeah. Right. So that was all a very calculated risk because they wanted to be in that space. They wanted to be in the same space as Disney, and I mean, maybe they wanted to because they thought, well, Disney's kind of a monopoly and we're the only ones that can put up any kind of fight.
I think they just saw promising numbers post-COVID and decided, let's go.
I think that's very true, too.
They just decided there's a lot of room for growth in this business segment.
And I mean, obviously, if you look at Central Florida in the past 40 years, right? Disney had one park 50 years ago, and there was no Universal. SeaWorld opened in 73.
Yeah.
right? So then there were like 2 parks, and there was Cypress Gardens, right? But now Disney has 4 parks and 2 water parks, and Universal has 2 parks with a third on the way, plus a water park, and SeaWorld has a water park. Yeah. And I mean, it's still growing, right? Like, obviously more people come to Central Florida on vacation than they used to in the 70s. But there's not really any thought that we're tapped out at this point.
Well, what no one is talking about is how Universal is about to make the same mistakes that Disney made many years ago, right? So let's look back at Disney parks in the 1990s, right? I would say an even more bullish expansion plan, right?
Yeah.
Look at that decade, right? You open
the Disney decade,
a little bit even beyond the decade, right? You open the Disney MGM Studios in '89. In '92, you're opening a park in Europe. By '98, you have a 4th park at Walt Disney World. In '95, you opened a 3rd actually water park.
Yeah.
How many hotels did they build during the Eisner years? Like 20?
Yeah.
Some insane number of hotels. But then look what they were doing outside of that, right? Like they're like, well, California, we only have 1 park. We should do a 2nd park in California. Paris, we only have 1 park. We have to do a 2nd park in Paris to keep the land. We should do regional entertainment venues. Everyone remember Disney Quest?
Oh, I love
Everyone remember ESPN Zone?
Yeah.
How did those turn out?
Not too good.
Those are in some ways in a similar vein to the Kid Park in Texas, right? Now, look, they could build that small enough to where it could easily succeed. The overhead's not high, and if you sell a couple hundred admissions a day,
like Legoland or something,
it could be the Legoland business model, and maybe that will work. I don't know how strong, other than Minions, their kid franchises are at this point. But it was whoever fought to get SpongeBob from Nickelodeon for that. That's probably the saving grace. I was convinced that park was a failure until.
You don't think Beetle Bailey and...
Well, no, but look
Woody
at what
Woodpecker, come on.
Gabby, the girl with the cats, which is a mildly popular show.
I don't even know
They
what
had
you're talking
Camp
about.
Cretaceous, which is like the mildly popular Netflix kids show about Jurassic World. These were not giant mega franchises, right? Shrek hasn't made money in a very long time. Like, people know what Shrek is, but it's not a hot commodity. It's not the thing that's going to pull people in, right? The thing that's going to pull people into Epic Universe is Nintendo. There is no doubt. They have an anchor, which is why they fought. Look, another thing I want to talk about. People going on and on about how quick Universal is to build things. What year did they sign the deal with Nintendo? And what year is Epic Universe opening? It is for all the people like Derek Bergen and all these people on Twitter and everything that ranted and raved like, oh, they announced Avatar in 2011 and they opened the land in 2017. Oh. Yeah, that was 6 years. You are over 6 years from announcement of Nintendo to it in Florida. You took way longer. So we want to talk about construction. We want to talk about how long it takes to do things. Universal can be just as guilty of that as Disney is, right? And the plan changed a million times, right? I remember, it's going to be in USF, and they're going to do Zelda at Islands, and they're going to do this and that. They flip-flopped for how many years, and then finally someone goes, well, we could do a 3rd park, and then it'll sell like the same way we saved the 1st park by building another Potter in it. You know, we can anchor a 3rd park. Like, these 2 parks are pretty successful. Anchor the 3rd park with it, right? But the problem with the kids' park is, I don't think they really had an anchor at first. No, other than, I guess, I don't think the Trolls movie did that well, the latest one. And Minions. Minions is that's the one the gift that keeps giving. But man, I know Disney made that many of any animated movie. Because are they up to like 7 or 8 of them now?
No.
Well, because you have to count the 2 series, right? Despicable Me and Minions.
I guess.
Yeah.
How many are there? There's at least 6, no? Like, look, you could make we're going to get Frozen 3 and 4. I get it.
And Toy Story.
But the reason those take longer to get to, Toy Story 5, that's fair. And Toy Story 4 is a piece of garbage. The reason we take longer to get to those with Disney is there's, in most cases, there's kind of a story trust, and you want to make sure it's right, because you don't want to be the people that ruin the franchise. In the case of Universal and Illumination, it's a factory, and it's well, it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. People like you throw some fart jokes in, and it'll be fine. Because I went to see. I've tried to watch prior to the the VillainCon ride opening. Mm-hmm. I wanted to understand what I was looking at, so I went and tried to watch those movies. They were awful. Awful. The first Despicable Me is a very good movie, and that's why the franchise exists.
Even the second one's good.
Yeah, it's fine. The Minions movies are near unwatchable. They're very poor. I went to see. My mother wanted to see Migration, which is from Illumination, and I watched it, and it was very much, paint by numbers, cookie cutter kids movie. There's nothing. They do not capture that magic of a Disney franchise or IP, right? And Disney has so many of them because of that. Like The Lion King. The Lion King will be around forever.
Yeah.
Right? Universal has franchises like that. They do not keep them alive, right? Back to the Future. Back to the Future is still as relevant as it's ever been. It's a Broadway musical that sold out every day for Back to the Future. Where is it in the parks? Why is it not in the parks? Jaws, the highest grossing films of all time. Everyone knows Jaws. There's a statue next to a bar. This is all the inclusion of these IPs. Like, look, King Kong, the original ride went away. Kudos to them, like to think and feel like King Kong is timeless. We can do a new King Kong ride.
Well, same with Jurassic Park, really. Like the Jurassic Park area of islands was sort of abandoned and decrepit for a long time before Velocicoaster. Mm-hmm. But now, they reinvested, right? Jurassic World, look, I don't like Jurassic World as much as Jurassic Park, but you've updated the land, and you're giving it some love, and you're keeping the franchise alive, which is great. Right. Yeah, Universal seems to spend a lot of effort on keeping the wrong franchises alive. Like Shrek is a good example. It's like, look at Epcot and Universal Studios Florida have a very similar problem in that they were two parks filled with all these fantastic attractions. And then by the time someone turned around and thought about it, they were like, oh, the only ride left is Living with the Land. And oh, the only ride left is the E.T. adventure. Yeah. Which, don't get me wrong, I love E.T. and I love Living with the Land. But in the grand scheme of the things they were born with, the things that were in the park when they were envisioned, they're the afterthought. They were the afterthought rides. Yeah. E.T. was not the ride people broke down the door at USF to go see. Right. It was everything. It was like King Kong and Jaws and Back to the Future. And an earthquake. And probably for kids, Hanna-Barbera was probably more of an earthquake. Hanna-Barbera was probably more of a draw for kids by the time E.T. got built. I would think, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe E.T. was still drawing real strong back then, but it wasn't the high. Same with Living with the Land. Like, yeah, now people are like, I love it. I hope it stays forever. And it's like, you guys, there was Journey into Imagination and Horizons and World of Motion. And you know what? Disney and Universal's doing the same thing that Disney is with all of the merchandise too. Look at how much Jaws and E.T. and Back to the Future and Jurassic Park merchandise you've got. And nobody buys the merchandise for VillainCon. Yeah. And it's the same at Epcot. You've got a Figment popcorn bucket that's for Journey into Imagination. Nobody likes the ride. No one lined up for your stupid Skyliner Guardians bucket. No. Because people like Guardians, but not to that extent. Like you didn't make a connection with them. No, but that's a great example. Like the Figment popcorn bucket is mass hysteria. The mass hysteria there's been around the Figment meet and greet and the buckets and all of that stuff. And the ride is terrible. Yeah. But people love that character. Right. But it's like the same. But it's true. It's like everyone doesn't understand what the best thing is to do with their franchises. So it's, and look, Guardians probably worked out for the best. They'll make a ton of, I think that store does pretty well, but you don't see stuff flying off the shelves in that Guardians store either, though. No, I mean people like Guardians. You don't at DCA either, really. Yeah, because I think it's more because they just don't have good stuff. Well, I think that's very true. That's another story. But I think that was the thing. They opened Avengers Campus and they thought merchandise was going to fly off the shelves, and then people just kind of looked at it and went, "I'm not buying a $50
toy to play with on the ride. What are you talking
Right?
about? Like this, I don't want.
It was, and also, I think people have a affinity for Disney merchandise much more than Marvel merchandise, right?
Yeah.
Like too much of the Marvel crap you could get at Target.
You could sell the thing to sell is like people obviously buy
Universal.
T-shirts and hoodies. Yeah.
T-shirts, hoodies,
people
ride
buy
vehicles,
T-shirts and
things
hoodies
relevant
and
to
a
the
toy
ride.
for kids, right? But anything else is probably not what that audience is looking for, right?
No,
that's
it's
the
not.
difference, right? If you go to like Dollywood or Cedar Point or whatever, the merchandise is very limited. It's like all the popular roller coasters get a T-shirt and there's a little ride model and a pin.
Yeah.
And that's what they
Maybe
get,
a
right?
mug
And then,
or whatever.
But then you look at Disney, like Haunted Mansion has a store. The Haunted Mansion has its own store where it has hundreds of different items. Pirates of the Caribbean has its own store with hundreds of items, and the ride sells as much merchandise, if not more now, both of those, than it did when it opened, when it was new and hot.
Well, arguably, Imagination does too. Figment does too.
That might be fair. They might sell more Figment stuff now. It's possible.
I mean,
a lot of that Pirates merchandise is general pirate merchandise.
No, they have a lot of
Memento
Pirates of the
Mori
Caribbean specific stuff.
They have some, but Memento Mori has a lot. All of their merchandise is specific to that one attraction.
Yeah, but Memento Mori is the size of this
Caribbean.
table. As opposed to
the pirate shop.
El Caribe Bazaar or wherever it's called.
I mean, that also has Indiana Jones merchandise.
It does in Coco and they've had
Coco
Nightmare.
merchandise.
Yeah, but as far as footprint, I mean, Pirates has as much.
I mean, well,
merchandise.
and you want to talk about wasted opportunities? Look at Tower of Terror.
Yeah.
Their whole merchandise is mostly Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
Like, where's the Tower of Terror
now
unique
because
merchandise?
there's only one other Tower of Terror, they like don't even bother anymore.
Yeah, but it's terrible.
Because Paris even was like, you guys make bad tower merchandise, we're going to make our own, and blew the U.S. parks away.
Absolutely.
They're like, why don't you guys make the sign?
Yeah.
Why don't you make the HTH sign? How about like a weird mantelpiece clock with all this art? And like the merchandise was insane.
Disney used to make good merchandise for Tower. I mean, they had all kinds of like keys.
But still not on that level. Still not
well, I mean,
what Paris
and
is doing
Tokyo
now.
does a way better job too, for that matter. But
We're getting off topic, though.
Yeah.
Quick
that's
note:
true.
there are 6 Minions / Despicable Me films. One of them is being released this year. So there are 5 out now, and this one being released this year, they're predicting will hit.
And in a very short amount of time. When did Despicable Me come out?
Let's see, 2010. Then they released films in 13, 15, 17, and 22.
So in
and have another one.
So in 14 years they made six movies?
Yeah, I mean, Toy Story was twice as long.
I mean,
Toy Story is
Fast
what,
and Furious
95 to
It's twice as long to get
What's
to 5
Fast and
movies.
Furious? They have Fast and Furious has at least 10.
That's
And,
that's absurd.
yeah.
Every other year or something like that. There's a Fast and Furious.
Yeah, I just don't think people feel like the Minions are popular now and they move merchandise and stuff. Will they be timeless? We'll have to wait and see. But I think Universal, for so long was building so many screen rides because their thought was none of this is timeless. So if we have to come back in 10 years and replace this, we should make it as easy on ourselves as possible, right? And part of that was, look at Jimmy Fallon, right? That is clearly built to be like, if Jimmy Fallon got fired from The Tonight Show tomorrow, the new person could come in and they could update that pretty quickly.
In a month, probably.
Well, they got to animate a film, but
Yeah.
but still, not a very long amount of time,
No,
right?
right.
And that's how a lot of that stuff felt. I think a lot of it was like, well, it'd be easy to update.
But the problem is they didn't. I mean, Toy Story Midway Mania was designed that way too, and they didn't. Right? Like Transformers is still there, and that hasn't gotten an update.
Disney, it felt like broke out of that trend real quick, though, right? Like
They did. They
that era of
realized-
Toy Story. But then look at Star Tours.
Right.
Star Tours is the one they've done the best job with.
Yeah.
Star Tours is still my favorite Star Wars ride.
But maybe because Star Tours now had to compete with much newer Star Wars attractions, right? If you were going to come out with a new shooter ride in the same park as Toy Story Mania, Toy Story, they'd have to do something with Toy Story Mania to keep people going there.
Yeah.
Right? So it's the competition within the franchise. But I think like Universal, they keep coming out with Minion attractions and things. At some point, people are going to be like, these are just kind of junk. And if they open a new Minion attraction that's a good one, no one's going to go on VillainCon. Right? Like
already barely people.
I mean, right?
It's flopped hard.
It's kind of like Moana. right? Like nobody.
People are in Moana.
People are in it, but it doesn't draw the kind of crowds that I think an Epcot attraction should.
I think management thought Moana was going to be a draw, and then meanwhile, I think the park said, right, when you embark on a reimagining of a park, the park usually has like a laundry list of needs, right? And I think one of the things they put on the needs list was we want a splash pad that's more immersive than the liquid layer. That's what we would like. And so WDI had to go figure that out. That was the point of it. The point of it was not we want a splash pad that makes people buy admission. Because I don't think that's anyone's ever going to.
No,
it's not going to happen. But the truth is, if you build a good enough playground area, what Universal's credit, the one thing Universal I think here does better, children's play areas.
Yeah.
Camp Jurassic, phenomenal.
Yeah.
I love Camp Jurassic. It's amazing.
But what about the ball factory?
We did lose the ball factory, which
Yeah.
also was great.
Yeah.
But also was at regional amusement parks.
I mean,
also.
Like Seuss Landing is a great land. You don't like it?
It's fine.
What don't you like about it?
The rides are bad.
But as a land, I mean,
It's pretty enough, but
it's-
like the arch. Another thing, like double standards, right? Universal's catching up. The arch nearly collapsed at the entrance.
Yeah.
They removed it. They never replaced it, so now there's just these two they look like those Oral-B toothpicks. Is what they look like now. It's just two of them just sticking up out of the ground. It's like, what happened? Like literally, Universal didn't have a plan to maintain Seuss Landing as long as they did. So the place started crumbling, right? Remember how long they worked on the Circus McGurkus facade?
Yeah.
Because no one knew what to do. People are like, we use this material, and it turns out every 20 years you kind of have to go back and redo this or it's going to fall on somebody.
yeah. Well, I mean, that was the same thing that happened to Dueling Dragons too, right? Like Dueling Dragons reached the end of its planned life cycle.
Also like someone got hit in the eye with a quarter, which was
that's a different but
at that point it's like,
problem.
well, this doesn't serve its purpose anymore anyway.
No,
so.
I mean, like they could have kept it. They would have had to retract the whole
Just
thing.
like Hulk, yeah.
Right? So, just like Hulk.
Yeah.
But I think, and this happens a lot, I think this happens with all kinds of enterprises. It certainly happens with like roadways and stuff too, where you know what the estimated lifespan of your materials or whatever you're building is going to be.
Yeah.
But you don't plan for the end of it. Like this happened with DVC at Old Key West. Old Key West has got 19 years left on the contracts. Disney never planned what they were going to do with Old Key West at the end of the contracts.
Yeah.
Right? They just kind of came up with stuff and they tried some things like, hey, let's see if people want to extend. And they tried it. Some people did and some people didn't. Still nobody knows what's going to happen in 2042 when all the Old Key West contracts expire. Like, are they going to bulldoze the thing? Are they going to sell new contracts? I mean, who wants to buy a new contract for a 50-year-old hotel now? But, well, you're going to pay a hell of a lot more.
I mean, I want Old Key West. It's a great hotel.
It is. I love it.
One of my favorites.
It's also
the best
super cheap.
DVC property.
Yeah.
It's also super cheap compared to all the new ones too. But once it flips over and starts anew, you're not going to get it that cheap anymore.
Yeah.
But like no one thinks about what to do at the end of the life cycle of an attraction or a land or a park or whatever. Right? Like
Disney has maintenance plans, right? There's like they know. So when I interviewed Zol Torme is the rockwork king of WDI. That's what he does. They knew the second they built Cars Land what the painting schedule was.
Sure.
It's like 10 years in, you do this. 20 years in, you have to do this.
Yeah, sure.
That's mapped out. I don't think Universal mapped that out.
I don't think they do.
They were like, oops, like that crumbled. Should we check the rest? I think maybe we should check the rest. Yeah.
Or the alternative is that the people that designed it knew, but then the institutional knowledge got lost.
Yeah.
Right? That's probably the more likely scenario.
The last thing you need is me getting hit in the head with the Q is for Quan speaker because it fell out of the facade.
Yeah. I mean, but like Disney does have better maintenance plans. Whether they stick to them or push them off is a different question, right?
Yeah.
Like they knew how often you need to repaint Cars Land, whether it got repainted on that schedule or got delayed a bit, right? Like that's the same for a lot of other Disneyland things.
You see it in Tokyo when they did the multi-year Mysterious Island scaffold project. That was insane.
Yeah.
It was unreal to watch that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was a huge project.
It's the biggest rock work they've ever done.
Yeah. It's a whole volcano.
And it goes around the
I
whole
have
land.
I have a few little mini topics that I feel like we should spend a few minutes each kind of go around the table and discuss.
Sure.
Are you guys
It's
ready?
a good thing we have a round table.
Eric's not on it.
I know, and good thing I'm not at it. Number one, the most popular thing at Universal in terms of seasonal events is Halloween Horror Nights. How does it compare to other seasonal offerings that Disney has?
It's such a different demographic. But to Universal's credit, they know the demographic and they cater to it hard.
Yeah.
They do everything they possibly can to make that event as successful as they possibly can and make as much money as they can. Most of the time to the detriment of the guests because it's way overcrowded and the lines are absurdly long. But Universal knows what they're doing with Halloween Horror Nights. They have people working on those houses year round that are the best designers for that kind of thing. Yeah. They do an amazing job because they know that's what people expect. And if Disney ever tried to do anything like it, it would be laughable. And I think, if they try to do a horror thing,
people raved about the stuff in Hong Kong. Annie went when they did the one in Hong Kong. And there's only one house, but
it's also Hong Kong versus here, I think, is a little different.
I would like to see them try. I really would.
I think it would be fun to see them try.
It would look like.
But Universal is, I think, firing on all cylinders with Halloween Horror Nights.
It's a brand now, right? You go to Spencer Gifts in the mall, or is it Hot Topic?
Hot Topic, yeah.
I get those all confused. Hot Topic at the mall. I went in New York, and I'm like, "There's Horror Nights merch, and not like movie Horror Nights merch, like Jack the Clown." I'm like, this is you. It's just like the Haunted Mansion. You've
created a character.
It's a pop culture thing now. It goes beyond the park. The people outside the parks know what it is.
I mean, at some point, Halloween Horror Nights is, and it may be at this point, it's too popular. They don't have the capacity to do and make available to everyone. Like look at Nightmare Fuel. Nightmare Fuel runs 4 times a night during Horror Nights. How many people can that theater hold? Like 2,000 maybe?
A couple thousand probably.
Yeah,
right?
Maybe 1,500.
But so on any given night, you can only fit 8,000 people in Nightmare Fuel. But they've got 20 to 30,000 people coming into Horror Nights, right? Yeah. Like you can't let more people into Horror Nights and not expand the offerings. Because people are going to start to get pissed that they don't have the value for their ticket.
Yeah. I know they've ramped up the number of houses over the years.
They have. They've done what they could.
10 is a lot, but we've now reached the point where 10 is not even enough.
It's not
enough. And I mean, there's more scare zones and everything else too. Yeah. But there's certain things they can't ramp up because they run out of space or whatever. Yeah. And like Nightmare Fuel is one of those things they can't really ramp up. But at some point, people are going to be annoyed that they spent more money on a ticket and got less for their money, which is what Disney's been doing for years now, thanks to Chapek.
Lower expectations, though, right?
You cannot properly experience something like a haunted house if they don't leave space between the groups, and so it's so crowded that it's just a long line of people.
It's a conga line.
But people buy a ticket to Horror Nights. They do 3 houses and they're happy. They're like waited an hour or 2 each. They did 3 houses and that's their Halloween experience. The expectations are so different. I think.
But let me say this though: if I go to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, it's the same theme park, right? They overlay a few things. I can get candy bars, but it's the same rides and nothing else.
All you're paying for is the parade and the fireworks,
entertainment,
and fireworks, right? So I can go to Universal and experience 10 completely different offerings, attractions that are time-consuming and intricate and artistic.
The focus of the event is not right? The focus of Horror Nights is not the
Parades and
attractions that are
fireworks.
open. They open the attractions to give people something to do who are tired of standing in line, right? Mickey's Not So Scary. There's not enough to do that's unique to the event, so they have to open all the attractions.
I don't even agree with this, but
I mean, you've got a parade, and you've got fireworks, and you've got stage shows,
and trick or treating,
meet and greet.
and character meet and greets.
You can't do it all in one night.
You can't. But how much of that is
also the ride,
well, especially because Disney shuts it down pretty early.
well, you've got more time at Horror Nights. Horror Nights is open later. I mean,
Horror Nights opens what, 5 or 6 and goes till.
Oh, they're not. Yeah, they're different. They're not even comparable. But like how much of what's available at Mickey's Not So Scary is something you can also do during the day? A lot of it. Right. How much of what's available at Horror Nights is something you can also do during the day? Virtually none of
attractions,
it. Right? And that's the difference. To me, that's the difference.
Yeah, but they're, again,
I think they've got something special there.
Oh, it's totally different demographic.
Going one over the other.
And that's why Mickey's Not So Scary continues to sell out.
Yeah.
Is because it's a completely different demographic. Yeah. Universal has done a great job to draw the demographic they did because they know it's different than Disney.
Yeah.
All right, here's another question. Do you feel that the Marvel and Simpsons licensing agreements will be modified in the coming years, or you think they're just going to go on in perpetuity where Universal's going to have properties that are owned by Disney in their parks?
The Simpsons contract is nearly over, and I believe Universal's already aware that they have to replace it.
I mean, the Simpsons are already Universal.
You think Disney will try to renew it or just make them change it?
They can't renew it. It will not be like they know it's not being renewed. Marvel is perpetuity, so until Comcast decides to relinquish, they can keep that forever. But Simpsons, I think, is up in 27, 28, whatever it is. They're aware that it's not being renewed.
But also that attraction is not going to last quite that long, I think.
No, but they expanded into full lands, right? So there's like a whole land around it they got to figure out. Look, I'm going to continue to float this out there because I think it's the idea that needs to happen. Just turn it back into Back to the Future. Just remaster the film, fix the ride, throw it back in, turn the stupid counter service into turn Moe's into Cafe 80s. You want a bar?
Yeah.
Redo the counter service and it's
done. Get rid of the stupid games.
It's done.
I want the Goldie Wilson car.
How are you gonna theme
Goldie Wilson spinner?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
it's you sweeping.
I mean, that's the perfect. Like that would not only
or they're flying trains, little flying trains.
That would not only please all the fanboys, it would bring back an IP that they've neglected, like we talked about. It sells merchandise. Yeah. It's a new attraction. Like obviously it's not a new ride system, but it would be essentially a new attraction, and people would be happy. I think you're right. I think I think
the food and beverage would print money.
I think that's like a golden opportunity. For what to do with Simpsons
Marvel?
Land.
Marvel, it's until they decide to. If I was them, I probably wouldn't relinquish it either. Why bother? We have all this other stuff we want to spend money on, and Spider-Man and Hulk draw really well. So just let them sit there and rot for as long as possible, so I don't have to pay to put something in there.
Right?
Because you can't leave it. Right, the second that contract ends, you got to essentially go in and retheme
the entire.
Because people are not going to live without those rides in that park.
Why could they not create some sort of licensing agreement that allows them to maintain those two rides, but also allows Disney to have more Marvel stuff on the East Coast?
Because they don't want them to, because then Disney can clobber them.
Doesn't it already feel like Junior Varsity Marvel over there, though?
Spider-Man is one of the most beloved attractions. Spider-Man is the reason I have an annual pass. Spider-Man is one of the best theme park rides ever built. So I don't know. Avengers Campus feels
I was going to say, there's a Spider-Man attraction in California that is in no way, shape, or form anywhere near comparable.
They botched Marvel big time.
Right?
But when I say Junior Varsity, it feels a little off-brand, right? It's
right.
But the Land Superhero Island feels a little off-brand because the Marvel Universe has evolved into this Marvel Cinematic Universe that is a different thing that is
but they don't have the right to touch
to be,
it.
I think, a superior product.
If they alter the deal, that's it. Disney's going to, if the deal is altered, if Universal wants to alter the deal, it's going to be breaking the deal, right? Like, so Universal can either keep it as is and put some money into maintaining it, or it's gone. It's one or the other.
Here's what I can envision for that is at some point, Spider-Man and Hulk. I mean, Hulk got it completely retracked, so it's got another 20 years. But at some point, those rides are going to be more expensive to maintain than Universal wants to spend. And it's what? You don't think so?
The Spider-Man rides could be hard to maintain. They have 40 of the same thing.
Yeah,
they have all the parts and everything.
I'm not right, but like the building and all of the infrastructure and equipment that goes. It's not just like the ride vehicles.
Yeah, but they rebuilt. They spend a lot of money in there. Only like 10 years ago. When
Sure.
They did the HD
I'm not
upgrade.
saying this is going to be soon.
Yeah.
I'm saying at some point in the future, they're going to do a return on investment calculation for Hulk and Spider-Man, and you know, when they need to retrack Hulk again, maybe they're not going to retrack it as Hulk, right? Yeah. And so they're going to have those deals in place, but they're going to actually change the attractions before they give up the rights.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. They're not going to close entire Superhero Island at one shot. They're going to redo the attractions and retheme them.
I think once you redo anything in that land, then it's all done.
Well,
I believe the way the deal is set up is like you have to maintain it. And if you do something different to anything in there, then that's the end of the deal.
Well, sure, and that makes sense.
So if they want to change one thing
they've got to change it all.
It all has to go.
Yeah.
So they can't just retheme Hulk to another IP and keep Superhero Island. It doesn't work.
No, but I mean,
that's my understanding.
They're going to be like sequential, though. It's not like they're going to close the whole
land. I think they have to. I actually think they will have to.
I think they can retheme Hulk and Hulk can reopen when Spider-Man closes.
I don't know.
Like that's what I think is.
I think it'd be easy enough with Hulk to just overnight knock down the statue and turn the video off, and then it's not Hulk.
That's true,
right? Like then it's just green, big green coaster.
Yeah,
and then,
green roller coaster.
Right, you can operate that until Spider-Man and the rest is done, and then close
that's true.
that. Right,
that's true too. Yeah.
Yeah. And it kind of felt like with Hulk, that's kind of what they thought. They were like, you know, yeah, we did all these upgrades and stuff, but technically we could de-theme this very quickly.
I mean, it's almost de-themed anyway.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's so lightly themed.
Yeah.
It's just green.
There's a reason why you look at what's funny is I was looking at a picture of USJ the other day, and I was like, I saw the tunnel, and I was like, oh, Hulk. And then I thought about it, I was like, it's USJ, they don't have Hulk. I was like, oh, it's Hollywood Dream, which has a tunnel. It looks the same. The same with the stupid Transformers roller coaster. They built Hulk as a Transformers roller coaster in one of the international parks. It exists.
Yeah.
They have the Battlestar Galactica one that had all the problems. That's in Singapore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's they have a large slew of, you know, barely themed sci-fi roller coasters.
And Doctor Doom, you just have to take the top of the tower off and be done.
Doctor Doom, I think if enough of us stand there and blow on it, it'll fall over and they can take it away.
Yeah. Right. I mean.
The Malibu.
Finally.
The Maladoomer, as we used to call it.
Finally, people talk about Disney's prices, and I see this a lot in comments, that Universal's better because it's cheaper for a family.
Food is cheaper. Tickets are not.
Tickets are not. Hotels are cheaper.
No.
They can
Annual passes are cheaper, but they only have 2 parks.
For, right? Like, yeah, you get express included with those like deluxe resorts, right? So with
Hard Rock,
yeah,
and Portofino Bay,
and why am I blank on the other one?
Princess, whatever. What do I call it?
Royal Pacific.
Royal Pacific. Yeah.
Royal Pacific. I don't know why I call it Royal Princess. Royal Pacific.
Yeah, but like you go stay
I'm
in those
losing my
hotel
mind.
rooms,
Sorry, guys.
They're not really nice hotel rooms for that price. You're paying for the express.
Oh,
those
yeah.
Hard Rock rooms are not deluxe rooms. They're kind of motel-y.
No, I know.
You know, the Portofino rooms are nice, but they're an arm and a leg.
But so is like Coronado's.
They're value.
Yeah, but I don't feel like I'm paying a
actually
deluxe price for Coronado.
Like $350?
Yeah, but you're talking about Portofino's like $5 or $6, and that's on
because
discount.
you get express.
Yeah, but it's not like.
I mean, then you go to Sapphire Falls and it's like $300.
Yeah, and then you get nothing. And I
know,
like Sapphire,
but you're also not paying for it.
Yeah.
Their value resorts actually are at a value.
Cabana Bay.
Cabana Bay is the
Endless
winner.
Summer. These are Cabana Bay and Endless Summer are cheap. I mean, you can get a room there for a good value.
Well, Endless
And the
Summer
Disney
you don't want to
value
stay at
resorts you
though because
can't.
it's in the ghetto and people get shot and they're
Well,
I mean,
it's not
that's
so
right
epic,
where you're going to be
Rims
going to
get
go to
stolen.
Epic Universe.
all that kind. Well, yeah, but
Cabana Bay.
Cabana Bay is unrivaled for the price. What you get,
Yes.
Yeah.
and the amenities. They have a bowling alley. The counter service restaurant is pretty damn good. The bar is great. There's so much to do. The lazy river, the pool is great. The rooms are cute. Lowe's nailed it.
Cabana Bay is almost like a moderate in comparison to Disney.
I would go on a vacation before I went to Universal on vacation. I would go on a weekend getaway just to. I would go to Cabana Bay and then go to Volcano Bay. As long as it's a weekend, I know Volcano Bay is not going to be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Because Volcano Bay is tremendous when there's no one in it. It's one of the best water parks ever.
We stayed in Cabana Bay for 5 days in 2020, and we went to Volcano Bay 4 of the 5 days.
That was the best. That month I lived at Universal was the best. I look back at that month and a half I lived at Universal at the reopening very fondly. That was a fun time. But it mostly was for the resorts. It wasn't for the parks. I don't like the parks that much. But Volcano Bay would know people. Once there's people in Volcano Bay, it's unbearable. But if you can catch Volcano Bay on a day where it's not super hot, and it's off season, you'll have a great time. Volcano Bay is the best water park you've ever been to if no one's in it. It's the worst water park you've ever been to if it's
crowded,
because it doesn't function at that point. But Cabana is I don't know that there's much at Universal I would say I love other than butterbeer, frozen butterbeer, and Spider-Man. Cabana Bay I would say I love, and I like Sapphire Falls too. I like both of those.
But yeah, I mean,
Well,
if Endless Summer is the value resort, Cabana Bay is not even in the same league.
Yeah. Eric, if you're going to end things, I think there's one thing from the WIGS I think we have to talk about before we close.
Do we have a WIGS question? I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's from Jesse Peterson. With Epic Universe coming online soon, I wonder if it will affect the yearly visitor and how much the split is between Disney and Universal. Does it flip, at least for a while, to spend more time at Epic Universe and the other Universal parks? Does that worry Disney? Here's what I've said, and again, we talked about, I was going to get to this when we talked about the mistakes Disney made in the 90s, right? Of overexpansion, regional parks, that kind of stuff. Which, by the way, building a park in Europe where Harry Potter was born without Harry Potter in it is one of the dumbest ideas I've ever heard. Without their bread and butter, they will not build a successful park. That is a tremendous mistake. Tremendous mistake. Anyway, let's go back to 90s Disney. 1998, Animal Kingdom opens. Animal Kingdom, number one, does not make people stay in Orlando longer.
No.
Number two, it does not make people
not visit other places.
It does make people not visit other parks. That's what happened. People go, oh, the new park opened. Do you want to not go to MGM or do you want to not go to Epcot?
So up until MGM,
That's what happened.
Every new Disney park kept people at Disney longer.
Yeah.
Animal Kingdom did not do that.
No.
And what you're saying is Epic Universe is not going to do that for Universal.
Also, if you want to bring it back to Universal, let's go a year later to 1999. Your beloved TripAdvisor's number one theme park in the world. Disney Sea exists, by the way. Let's not forget. TripAdvisor's ranked number one theme park in the world, Islands of Adventure, was a flop, a failure. It died. It died. No one showed up, and it put them in a financial hole that they only managed to get out of when Harry Potter opened. And if it was not for Horror Nights over that period, Universal Parks probably would have either been sold or closed in that period. Horror Nights kept the lights on, really. And then Potter eventually got them back where they needed to be. But Islands flopped. And you can talk, it was a marketing thing and this and that. And we can blame the Universal escape marketing all we want, and I'm sure that hurt in some way. But the truth is, if Animal Kingdom already was hurting attendance at Epcot and Hollywood Studios, do we not think that all of that was only further damaged by another park being introduced. Sure. People just decided like, no, I have a week to go to Orlando, and this is where I'm going, and I can't go to all of it. There's too much.
Right.
There's too much to do, and the same thing is going to happen.
Absolutely.
The same thing is going to happen with Epic, where, yeah, it might hurt a Disney park or two a little bit.
It's going to hurt Universal a lot.
I think it's going to hurt the other two parks tremendously. I think, look, there's no doubt people are excited for Nintendo and people are going to show up at Epic Universe. There's no doubt. There's no doubt Epic Universe will succeed on its own. But if you ask me, like, again, I have no market research or anything in front of me, but based on historical evidence, my thought would be people will decide where they're going to spend their time, and that time, people's trips to Orlando are not going to get longer in 2025.
They're a week.
Yeah.
They've been a week since 1982, and they're going to continue to be a week in Orlando.
A decision will need to be made. And I think, personally, I think they're going to cut off Universal Studios Florida. I think that's the one most people are going to cut off. And I think
it's like a half-day park.
Yeah, and I think they could. I mean, both of those. I think Islands.
Well, I was going to say, are people going to just park hop and do both in one day as opposed to spending?
Maybe they'll just buy a park hopper for all three and like go do the things they want for a day or two, and then they'll get out.
They're going to spend 2 days at Universal, whether they visit 1, 2, 3, or 4 parks.
Yeah.
They spend 2 days at Universal now, right? Like a typical week vacation. You spend 4 days at Disney, you spend 2 days at Universal, you got a day that either you do something else or you don't go to a park or you take a rest.
Yeah.
That's not going to change when Epic Universe opens. They're going to spend 2 days at Universal and they're either going to go to 1, 2, 3, or 4 parks instead of 1, 2, or 3 parks.
And I think Disney very wisely has spread the love to their parks, right? Because people love Pandora.
Yeah.
So people, if you haven't seen Pandora, you got to see Pandora. If you haven't seen Galaxy's Edge, regardless of what we know wasn't provided, the whole world knows there's a Star Wars land to see.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy has been a smash hit at Epcot. People are going to feel compelled to go see that. And the Magic Kingdom is the Magic Kingdom. No one is coming to Orlando and not going to the Magic Kingdom if they're going to a theme park. That just doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. And they're investing, right? Tron just opened, and Tiana's Bayou Adventure will be there, right? A whole new people like Princess and the Frog. It's a thrill ride. It will draw.
Yeah, and when Animal Kingdom opened,
wait. You don't think there are people that just come and go to Universal and then go home?
No,
those families exist.
There's like
a couple,
3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, maybe like 100,000 people a year, but it's not like a
teenagers.
Big number.
Yeah.
Like when Animal Kingdom opened and it cannibalized attendance at the other 3 parks, they realized they either need to get more people overall to come to Disney, or they need to take time away from something else.
The only reason to build an additional park is you've reached capacity at your existing parks.
It's a capacity thing. So like
Magic Kingdom, they added Epcot Center, but Magic Kingdom was it was crowded.
Yeah.
So they're like, it makes sense to add Epcot.
Sure.
And then MGM was not built to be a full park.
No. And so when Animal Kingdom opened, before Animal Kingdom, people came to Disney and they spent a day at Magic Kingdom, a day at Epcot, and a day at Studios.
Half day at Studios.
Well, they spent a half day at Studios, and then they went for dinner or something, or Springs, or downtown Disney. When Animal Kingdom opened, they spent a day at Magic Kingdom, a day at Epcot, half a day at Studios, and a half a day at Animal Kingdom. Because there wasn't enough to do in either one of those parks to stay for the whole day.
Yeah.
And so what Disney realized is that no one's spending 4 days at Disney World. They're still spending 3, even though we have 4 parks.
Yeah.
And then they had to add to Animal Kingdom and add to Studios in order to make them full-day parks.
And here's the thing is adding to those parks is not even what did it. Magical Express is what did it.
Sure.
Magical Express was the thing that hurt the rest of Orlando more than anything Disney had ever built.
It was genius.
Because people were like, I don't need a rental car. Disney's going to pick me up at the airport and drive me to the hotel and then drive me back. I can't leave.
And before Uber existed, it was genius.
So, I think that if Disney is smart, they want to beat Epic Universe, there's a very simple answer.
Bring back
it's
Magical
to sit
Express.
at a table with mirrors and bring back a bus service.
Yeah.
Right? And look, I think Epic will draw. There's enough people that love Nintendo. People will still probably go out of their way even if you do that. But it would be in Disney's best interest to have Magical Express back?
Absolutely.
That's the easy answer.
Absolutely. Yeah, that would do it. I mean, I think with Uber and Lyft, it's easier for people than it used to be to get a ride to other places on spur of the moment. It's expensive. It's just easier, right? Like you would have to go to the front desk and have them call a taxi. Now you just do it on the app. So, but I think you're absolutely right that Magical Express would swing the balance. People who love Nintendo would come to Disney for a week and they'd take a day and they'll go over there. To Epic.
Same as they did with Potter. That's what happened with Potter. Right. And then they were like, oh, we have to get people in the other park. So they built Potter at the other park.
Yeah,
that's what happened. Everyone went to Islands of Adventure and still no one was showing up at USF. Right. And so that's the thing. But people have seen Potter now, right? Like it's getting up there in age. And the same might be for Pandora, right? Which is why I think the Animal Kingdom expansion project is probably the next thing that's happening, because Disney realized like that's the thing that's had the longest shelf life. So we got to make sure people don't feel like, oh, I've seen Pandora. Nothing's open there since. Yeah.
Right. You have to make your park not skippable. Yeah. And that's what Pandora did for Animal Kingdom. Mm-hmm. Star Wars Lane does for Studios. Yeah. If you're a coaster person, Guardians does for Epcot. Yeah. And Tron does for Magic Kingdom. And they're the 4 newest things. Yeah. The oldest of those 4 things is Pandora. Yeah. And so now they need something new for Animal Kingdom to make it more freshly not skippable. Yeah. And Epic Universe will be not skippable. Yeah. But Universal and Islands are totally skippable.
Who's not excited about a whole new park, although that happened with Islands of Adventure, right, where that shouldn't have failed either, because Jurassic Park finally had a land.
Right? It was just terrible.
Marvel. And I mean, obviously Marvel wasn't what it is now, but, a lot of those
Islands was a great park.
It is. It is.
I agree.
Some of the rides are okay.
I mean, it was a beautiful park when it opened,
their prettiest
right?
Park. By far, Universal's best-looking park.
Sure.
Not even close.
Yep.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Universal has other issues, too. Like, I think a big problem that Universal has that Disney doesn't have is they're sandwiched within a lot of other development, and it's not easy to get from park to park. Yeah. Like, you can take a bus, but there's still stoplights and everything. It's a pain.
Yeah, that Volcano Bay system where you park at the garage and then get on a bus
is a pain.
It's silly, but they're landlocked.
I mean, are they building a parking garage at Epic? They have enough space to, I would assume.
I believe there's a lot.
Yeah, but it's still not going to make, like, park hopping easy.
No, it's depending where you are. Yeah, right.
Right, so, like park hopping at Universal.
If you're staying at the Epic,
right,
a hotel,
you're staying over there.
Obviously, you could walk into that park, but then the other parks are far. You're gonna have to take a bus.
So park hopping
is that different from Disney? Not really.
Well, park hopping between like Islands and USF is easy. Yeah, and the train made it even easier. Yeah. Not quicker, but easier.
How would you like to travel a walking distance but wait in line for an hour to do it?
Yeah. But I mean, like the Skyliner made park hopping between Epcot and Studios easier. Not necessarily quicker, but easier.
So long as it's not raining.
I mean, they had boats. They still have boats, right? And the monorail makes park hopping between Magic Kingdom and Epcot easy, so long as it runs. Animal Kingdom was the outlier of easy park hopping, and that's why rumors existed forever that they're going to extend the monorail to Animal Kingdom, because you couldn't get there easily. But Epic Universe is absolutely going to have that park hopping problem with the other 2 parks.
Where people may not buy the park hopper just because like, I don't want to take a bus.
Right.
Yeah, there's plenty of people that do that.
They'll figure it out. It's going to be an all-day park, so.
Yeah, I think people will just stay there. I don't think people are going to buy park hoppers. I really don't think so.
They're going to buy a 1-day ticket to Epic if that's what they want to do, and they're going to buy a 2 or 3-day ticket if they want to do all the parks. Yeah, but they're not going to buy like a park hopper, a 2-day or a 1-day park.
Yeah, I don't think there's an in between. I think there's people that are going to stay at Universal and do 2 to 3 days there. Or I think they're coming for the day to do
Epic, and
whatever will be the new hot thing, which is Epic, right?
I think you're right.
I don't know that there's going to be a lot of in between.
I think you're right.
But I could be wrong. Like Universal can decide that this is a great business decision, and I can decide it's not. But the truth is, you never honestly really know until you open.
No.
And so we're going to wait and see. But I mean, the historical evidence is that people have a finite amount of vacation time, and they will have to sacrifice something
Right.
from their Orlando vacation.
And you've got to make your offering compelling enough that they don't want to sacrifice it.
Yeah.
And or you've got to make the value proposition lopsided enough.
Yeah.
Right. That's the other option.
And neither of them are going to do that.
No.
Disney and Universal are not going to do that.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
But
No.
what Universal could do, listen to this idea.
Oh, my God.
Universal could get together with SeaWorld and make a 4-day
All right, it's time to end the
multi-park
show on this note.
park hopper pass where you can also go to SeaWorld.
Eric's holding his face. It's probably time to be done.
I mean,
I resolved early on when I first pitched this show to Tom that I did not want it to be a talking head, like remotely joining people type of show. Here I am, the first to violate that rule. I apologize. I feel like I should be there right now to physically stop Jason's idea from happening now.
They used to have passes in California.
He's still going.
That you could, it was like a city pass, they called it, right? And you could go to different parks that were all competitors.
Disneyland used to be on that.
Disneyland and Universal and
California
Knott's.
Adventure finally worked.
Right. So that's you could have an Orlando City Pass. It has SeaWorld and Legoland.
I thought Universal and Universal did that at one
Peppa
point.
Pig.
And Peppa Pig and Fun Spot. I don't know. I mean, Universal team members can visit SeaWorld and vice versa.
I think Peppa Pig is catching up.
You think?
Yeah.
Peppa Pig.
Daddy
built
Pigs.
a roller coaster.
Daddy Pigs.
They built a roller coaster in 3 days. And
I mean, they need an express bus service between Peppa Pig and Universal.
The Daddy Pig roller coaster it's way better than Hagrid's.
Wow.
And they built it a lot faster than Tron.
They built it faster than Universal builds.
Yeah.
That park was thrown up in like a week.
All right. So the WIGS are watching live right now. Thank you, WIGS, that are watching live. If you want to learn more about becoming a WIGS member, you can support us on Patreon.
I plugged that while you were gone.
You did? Well, my work here is
missed
done.
all
I think
the
we're going to have to
plugs.
revisit this topic in 6 months. We're going to have to revisit this topic when we get closer to Epic Universe opening, when we know a lot more about what it's going to be like, I think because it's going to be the thing. What we haven't answered is Epic Universe going to be worth going to? You know, right now what they have is Windows.
The answer is it depends.
I
don't think it depends. I think there's some great stuff going in that park. That How to Train Your Dragon show has had rave reviews from Beijing. That's going to be a hit. I'm sure the roller coasters. Look, Universal knows how to order good roller coasters.
They know how to order roller
right? So
coasters.
Starlight Racers and the Dragon
Donkey
one,
Kong.
and those will all be super fun. The Potter will be Potter. Nintendo has its highlights, even if the two rides aren't great. Donkey Kong, I think Donkey Kong's going to be the thing that saves Nintendo. We'll see in a couple months when it opens in Japan, but I think that's the thing that's gonna end up being the Nintendo,
The best ride in
ride in that land. Yeah, because the other two, like that's Universal's thing. They found a roller coaster. It's an innovative system. Like it checks all the boxes for them. It's going to be a hit, undoubtedly. So with all that being said, I think Epic might end up being their best park. It's very likely.
Yeah.
But and of course the thing no one's talking about is that the monster ride, the Kuka Arm monster ride. Everyone I've heard from who's working on that or in the vicinity of that ride, everyone's like, this is the thing. This is the thing that people are going to love the most. So
we shall see.
We can talk about Epic at some point. Yeah.
All right, we'll circle back around this topic in 6 months or so. Thanks for joining us on the WDW News Today podcast. If you have feedback, you can email me, Eric, at wdwnt.com. That's Eric with a C. Or you can email Tom.
Hopefully we didn't have feedback from the speaker.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
If you did, email Eric.
Boy, is it ever time for me to go? Thanks anyway, and we'll see you next time on the WDW News Today podcast.
See you real soon.